So welcome everybody to ChatGPT 101 live slides. I put the link in the chat. So if you want to look at this live slides in Google Slides, let's get right started. Today we're going to talk about just briefly about a conference I'm putting together inspired by AI, by the way, different topic of conversation, but talk about that briefly. Then we're going to talk about how to get started. We're going to create a brand new GPT account. We're going to create a new chat. We're going to navigate the website. We're going to show you sort of tips and tricks on how to do things inside ChatGPT. We'll talk about prompting examples. We'll talk about browser extensions. What exactly do they mean and how they interact with ChatGPT. We'll talk about ChatGPT 4 or ChatGPT Plus, and these two terms are used interchangeably. We'll talk about the new concept that was added in July-ish, I think, of 2023, which is called custom instructions, which is awesome. And we'll talk about the plugins and code interpreters. We have tons of stuff to cover, so we're going to jump right in. So very quickly, I have my first live conference in Miami in October. There's only about 24 tickets left, so this thing is probably going to sell out. I've been very, very inspired by the movement of AI, ChatGPT, and of course, software companies, globalization, and automatization that's basically starting to commoditize our industry. And I believe that if accountants get really, really, really deeply creative to reinvent their business models around all these avalanche of changes, we're not only going to survive, all of this, we're gonna stand out. So I put together a conference with my friend Ron Baker, Chris Doe, Vanessa in Miami, where we're going to talk about how to rebuild or how to reconstruct or how to re-engineer a business model that sort of it's modern enough for it to be able to embrace or bring AI into the mix, but to match the customer's expectations as to like what a modern accounting practice should be. So there's the link. There's the coupon that expires in August. Also, the hotel block rate also expires in August. So regardless, you wanna definitely jump on this around August. There's the agenda. I won't get through that, so we don't sacrifice from the session. Make sure you check that out in the slides. And if you have any questions, you can always email me about that. Okay, let's jump right in. ChatGPT free version. Now, really quick, I'm gonna jump to the product, but I want to make sure that you download those slides, save them, because I build these slides like a sort of like a guide. Okay, so these slides have tons of screenshots, and I'm not going to go through the slides. I'm just going to go through exactly the software, but the entire slides contains step by step, every single screen explanation of what every button does and why it's there, why you would use it, and maybe some tips and tricks on in what situations that button will be very useful. So make sure that you're sort of highly aware of what's going on with the slides and save those slides so you can reference them later. Okay, so I'm gonna start by just sort of logging out of my regular ChatGPT account, and essentially the first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna go to chat.openai.com. If you can simultaneously, you don't have a ChatGPT account, open another.
Hey, Hector, sorry to jump in. We're still seeing your first slide. Just want to make sure.
Yeah, I apologize for that. Okay. All right. Just want to give me 1 second. Sorry about that. That was my mistake for not sharing the screen. So just wanted to go back real quick and just point out that you want to go through the slides. There's tons of content there. There's links. There's guides. I'm just showing them on the screen so you see what the slides look like. Make sure that you go through the slides and you have access to that. Okay. All right. So the very first step is we went to chat.openai.com. It's the very first thing you're going to do. Then you're going to click on sign up, and then you're going to create an account. There's two ways to create an account. One, we can just enter the email address, or two, we can log in with our Apple IDs, our Microsoft account, or a Google account. I'm going to do it just with an address here. So I'm going to put one of my emails here so you can kind of see everything that happens in the process. Just put an email and press continue, and then you create your own password and then hit continue. And essentially, that would be it. You're gonna have to open your email. So when you get the email, to verify, it will look like this. You're gonna click on verify email address. You're gonna put your name, Hector Garcia, and you're gonna put your date of birth. So I'm gonna make one up and then press continue. I'm gonna put a phone number. Send. The next screen will look exactly like this. I'm gonna log in with my current account that we have. My account uses Google. Okay, so that's exactly what the verification process will look like. And then your account will look like this. Now, here on the left side, your chats will be blank. In this case, you're seeing all the chats that I've had with ChatGPT. As you can see, I have a long-term relationship with ChatGPT, building multiple chats. So here on the left-hand side is basically allows you to go back to any of your chats. So you can go see and check what you have done with it. Now, one of the really important things about chat history, and I think it pertains to people like accountants, that are always on top of security. Security is a really important concern. Is you need to understand that anything that you send to ChatGPT, anything that you're doing with ChatGPT in terms of chatting back and forth, ChatGPT could use it to train its model. So you really want to be careful with not putting personal identifiable information and that sort of thing. If you click on the three little dots next to your name on the bottom left, and you click on settings, in their settings button where it says data controls, there's the single most important option there is in terms of you deciding on whether or not you want to allow ChatGPT to train its model with your chat. If you turn that off, essentially, notice, I'm just going to X out of this, notice that all of my chat history goes away. So essentially, the trade-off is if you want chat history, you have to agree to allow ChatGPT to use the data to potentially use the information in here to train itself. So that's the key element here. It's a very interesting concept. I've never really seen in the software world this sort of decision that you have to make. Is you either keep a history or not, and that in itself changes on whether or not you're allowing them to use the data to train the model. Okay, so I would say that probably is single-handedly kind of the most interesting concept when it comes to security. Now, the way you start doing a chat is you click on the top left where it says New Chat. Basically, you just click on New Chat, and it creates a blank chat. Now, if you're on the free version of ChatGPT, and I happen to be on the paid version of ChatGPT, but if you're on the free version of ChatGPT, you're not going to see an option in the top where you can go from ChatGPT 3.5 to ChatGPT 4. ChatGPT 4 is exclusive to the paid version, which is $20 a month, and it's called ChatGPT Plus. ChatGPT Plus has not only ChatGPT 4, the engine, the model, it has a couple of extra features as well. But I'm going to stick with ChatGPT 3.5, which is the one that's available to all the free users. And here's where you would basically start interacting with ChatGPT. The only thing that you really need to know at this point that you have to click on New Chat. And then if you're in the free version, it would automatically be in 3.5. Now, I can collapse the left navigation bar if that's a little bit confusing. That way we can focus 100% on the prompting. And essentially, you can start typing whatever you want. Whatever you want to type, you can start typing. So you can do something as simple as, and I'm just going to go back and check a setting really quick, and I'll go back and check that setting for a second with you guys. I'm going to turn off custom instructions. I'm going to go back and explain what that means. So I'm going to start by saying, I am a CPA and need help researching a tax issue. And then you press enter, and basically ChatGPT will say, okay, understood what you wrote. It went to its database, and then it replied back with what it thinks is the most human version of an answer to that question, right? Then I'm going to ask the next question, which is, I have a client with a 2020 tax return and wants to depreciate a 65,000 luxury SUV 100%. I'm gonna press enter. So this is, again, it goes back into its database of information and returns back what the average of the internet information the information that's on the internet that it has been trained at, and it gives you an answer. Now, this is not authoritative content, right? So like this is not like checking the IRS website. This is not checking the IRS code. This is checking the universe of information that's out there. This is the average of the world's truth, which sometimes could be true, sometimes is not true. In some cases, we use the term hallucination anytime that ChatGPT starts sort of making up information. What's really interesting about ChatGPT specifically is that all the answers look right. It always looks right. It always looks like it's on point. It bullet point stuff. Sometimes it cites tax code, even if you ask it to cite tax code. Like, for example, it cited section 179. It talks about maximums. I mean, everything about this looks accurate. But again, ChatGPT essentially it's a computer that's taking the average of the truth that it knows as to be the universe of truth based on what it was trained on. Now, ChatGPT was trained on information up to September 2021. So if you ask it anything that's current after September 2021, it would tell you that it wouldn't work. So for example, if I take the same question and say, what about in 2023, and press enter, it's actually going to warn you to say, by the way, I don't have any new information past September 2021, so I can't really give you information about this. Now, that doesn't render ChatGPT totally useless. A lot of people at this point go, okay, yeah, then it's useless. I'll wait until it's updated. Well, the reality is that it's been trained in two things. It's been trained on how to answer questions and also on facts. There's no change between September 2021 and now. There's no change about how to answer questions. That semantics, English, how to put together information and ideas, all that stuff is still going to be relevant. It's just if it's anything related to tax or whatever that's after September 2021, then obviously ChatGPT can't. There are plugins that can search the web and that they can accumulate information that's current, and we'll get to that. But that's the general concept, and I think it's such a really important one to just keep in mind because there's tons of people sort of get worried at that point, thinking that there's something that is not useful because it's not up to date. Not true at all. It's super useful. Now I'm going to open up the left navigation bar again so we can see the list of our historical chats. Notice that I can switch to another chat here. So I have this other chat here that I was working on and some other concepts, and this other chat here that I was working on in other concepts. I could always go back and forth and continue that chat anytime. ChatGPT is not going to forget. There's chats here that I started, let's say 6 months ago, or a couple months ago, and I click on that, and I could resume this conversation started where we left off. So that's like kind of a really interesting thing that it won't really forget. Again, especially if you have that option turned on where you can keep the chat history. The other things that are important about ChatGPT is you can respond with continued conversation, or you can respond to give me a different version of this answer. So I can say something like pretend the tax code in 2020 and 2023 did not change, then what would your answer be? And you press enter, and then it's going to say, okay, so I'm going to apply the information I have about the tax code in 2020, pretend it didn't change in 2023, then I'm going to give you a full answer. And you can ask it to do some math too. So for example, the first year depreciation limit is at 18,100. You can say 18,100 is subject to 5% increase per year. Okay, so something like that, and then I can actually tell it to do some math. And this is another important concept about ChatGPT is generally you shouldn't trust ChatGPT for math, but you can do simple things like this. And I press that, and it says, okay, I understand what you're saying now. So what ChatGPT did is said, okay, I'm going to add 5% to each of the limits and essentially give you a new answer for 2023. So this is like the really cool thing about ChatGPT is it's almost like a human being. I'm never going to call artificial intelligence a human being, of course, but I'm saying it's almost like an intern. You're like you can ask them to do this, you can ask them to do that. So and this is the kind of thing that I tell you, you could totally get lost in this. You could totally sit there and like test it and try to break it. And I do recommend you try to break it because really, in the process of trying to rake it, I think that's really where the really cool, interesting realizations come out. Okay, so let's say we're done using this content, and I want to use it somewhere useful. I want to put it on an email. I want to put it on a Word doc or whatever. Well, I'll just start my Word doc in this case. So let me just open up a new Word document here, or a new Google Doc here, and I could just go back to my ChatGPT. I can click on this little clipboard, and basically that copies it. That copies it into my clipboard. I could also select it and copy. You can do either one, but there's going to be a lot of copy and pasting in ChatGPT. ChatGPT is almost like a gym on copy and paste. You'll be exercising that muscle quite a bit. So I can paste that information, paste it on my Word document, and at that point I can do with it whatever I want on an email or whatever it happens to be. Okay. Now there's two very interesting buttons here. Okay, one button that's really sort of highly relevant to you, and one not so much. If I press the thumbs up button, essentially all I'm saying is, hey, this is really, really good, and I'm going to give feedback to OpenAI to say, hey, this was great. You know, most people don't spend so much time thumbing up stuff. Most people spend time really thumbing down stuff, right? Because we're in beta, so we're improving the product. If you thumb it down, then you can basically give it particular feedback saying no info for 2021 and beyond, or something like that. And of course they know that, but I'm saying that's where you submit the feedback. But what's really interesting is after you submit feedback, the system goes, all right, there's an original answer and there's a new answer. So it literally provides an alternate version of the answer. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean this one's true and the other one is not, but it basically pre-generates the feedback both for ChatGPT to get better, and also for you, if I click on new answer is better, for you to then tell ChatGPT to give me the new answer, and then I can take the new answer, and then I can copy it, and then I can paste it whatever else I want to paste it. Now the other interesting thing about this is, you see this answer. I'm just going to copy this and paste it. I'm going to copy this and paste it. So this is the most current answer that I have. I'm going to tell it expand. I'm going to say expand it and make it more wordy with real life examples, and then just press enter, and ChatGPT will proceed to literally do what you told it to do, to make it more wordy and give you more real life examples. So just to give you a general concept here, I'm going to copy that and I'm going to paste it into the Word document. So now you see how much longer the answer is. Okay, and I could also go back and just even be sort of like more extreme about this, changing the length of the information. I can say make it short, keep it to 100 characters, and then you could really make this tight. Right? You can say that, so now it says you can depreciate up to this amount, and that's it, right? So you can go extreme and go super long. You can go sort of the opposite and go super short. Okay. Dave is asking this question. He says, how does ChatGPT make any money? So there's tons of people on the paid version. So I would say that's one way. The second thing that you don't see here, and I won't be covering on this sort of 101 webinar, is there's also an API that allows other software companies to access the engine that will power, the answers or actions that these particular software companies are integrating with ChatGPT will have. So if you actually see any of the software companies that you've used forever, all of a sudden say, oh, we added AI, or now we have AI, or now we enhance the functionality with AI. 99% of the cases when a software company today in 2023, they say we added AI, it's because they're connecting to ChatGPT in the background. So ChatGPT is the front end of the OpenAI platform, and GPT is the back end that gets access through an API. So hopefully that makes sense to you, exactly conceptually how they make money, what the business model happens to be. Also, if you kind of just project out into the future, data is going to be the most valuable thing. I would argue to say is the most valuable thing. So understanding how every human being behaves through possibly, teaching an AI system based on how a whole bunch of people interact with it might be more valuable than anything else. We don't even know how to like measure what value that could have long term. Okay, let's dig a little bit deeper about more things in the chat. One thing you will notice on the top of the screen, top right of the screen, you see a little button here that says share chat. If I click on share chat, okay, it gives me essentially really it's two options. Is I can either share my name or have an anonymous name next to it. And then I can click on copy link. And then basically this chat becomes a public URL. Check this out, public URL. I'm gonna go into the chat of GoToWebinar, and I'm gonna paste the chat to that public URL. So you can literally click on that and see this exact interaction that I had. So let's say you're chatting with ChatGPT, you love the answer, and you don't want to sit there and copy and paste it to email or whatever. You can share that chat with someone, and you can either do it anonymously or you can add your name at the end. And the other cool thing is this is a live link. So if I add something else to it, like what about 2025, and it gives me the answer for 2025. Again, whether it's correct or incorrect. Make it long, let's say. You would actually see live in the share chat, you would see any new things I add to it. So you could essentially sort of share your experience of ChatGPT with someone. You can't interact. There's no collaboration. So there isn't like a back and forth where two humans can chat with the same chat at the same time. It's a single interface in this particular case, but at least you can kind of share your back and forth you've had with it. Fun fact, the conference that I put together in Miami, that's going to be in October, a lot of the agenda was things that I built with ChatGPT. I put all my ideas in there, and it helped me sort of hone down the ideas and the concepts. So it's like, and then I sent that to my co-organizer, Carlos, and then he used some of the text and he added some. So we were able to interact essentially by copying and paste into different chats, but we can both make each other's chats public, and then we can do, we can interact like that. Now, there's a question here in the live chat which says, how do you confirm that an answer is correct? Right now, we are in a world where this is the same thing as like somebody giving you a random fact on the street, right? Like, how do you know something is correct? You would literally have to go in and Google it and research. And you would say, well, does that make any sense? Why would I even use ChatGPT if I don't know it's right? If I have to go to Google to verify that it's right? Well, even when you go on Google, there's no such thing as right or wrong. I mean, the nice thing about ChatGPT is there's some alignment with humanity where they use the aggregate of the world's knowledge to put these things together. Now, if you're an accountant particularly or a lawyer, the concept of right and wrong and accurate and inaccurate has a different connotation. And I totally understand that concern. And hey, that's the way the world works. Okay, let's go back to the left navigation bar, so I can click on any of these chats. If I don't want them, I just click on the little trash can and delete, and that deletes that chat forever. ChatGPT can no longer use it to train itself, and it's no longer bothering you, no longer in your history. These have titles. Each chat has a title, and it's based on sort of like the first thing that you asked. So I can click on the pencil and change it to something like shopping list. Okay, so it's possible that your very first prompt, ChatGPT guessed a title for that chat, and then as you get deeper and deeper in the conversation, the title changes. Just change it. That's what will make it easier for you to go back and know which one you were working on. Okay. In any of these chats, there's a little button here that says regenerate, and you can click on regenerate, and it basically reissues the answer again. Sometimes that's useful, when for whatever reason the answer didn't get completed, or you wanted like a slightly different version. And then as you click on regenerate, and you can click on regenerate over and over and over, once you find an answer that you like better, if it asks you, to give us some feedback, again, ChatGPT essentially, they want you to say, okay, this is a better answer, not a better answer. And also they implicitly know, that if you press 3 or 4 regenerates, and the last one that you press, if that's the best one, then probably ChatGPT will use that to teach itself. So that's another interesting concept, where every time I use ChatGPT, I think deeply about how is this information potentially being used to teach itself. Okay. All right. Let's go into the settings and let's go through some interesting settings here. So I'm going to click on my plan here, and this is where you would subscribe to the plus version. So if you wanted to pay the $20 a month, get access to ChatGPT 4 and a couple of other extra things, you would do that through here. If I click on the three little buttons again and click on settings and beta, there's a couple of things I can change here. One is I can make this dark. So if I wanted to see black instead of light background, I can do that. This open plugin dev tools, that's for developers. So I don't even know how to use that. So we'll skip through that. Beta features are these things that they're testing. I'm gonna uncheck plugins and code interpreter, and then I'm gonna turn on custom instructions. Custom instructions are really interesting. And essentially what custom instructions do, I'm gonna X out of that, is like when I go and change custom instructions, I will give it the context that is going to be used on every single chat moving forward. Again, custom instructions. So when I create a new chat, I don't need to tell it, hey, I'm a CPA, or like functionally and practically, who am I as the user of ChatGPT. So it knows what answer to give you contextually. So I'm going to give you an example of this. So right now there's no custom instructions. Okay, I have it turned off. Notice that you can enable it or you can disable it. So I have it disabled. That means that whatever I have in there is being ignored. There's no custom instructions. And then I'm going to start a new chat. Again, no custom instructions. And then I'm going to say, can I deduct my boat for my business? Okay, we got any tax preparers here? You guys know random questions that we get as tax preparers. So if I press enter, ChatGPT will proceed to give its answer. So it starts with something like, hey, I'm an AI model, I'm not a tax advisor, I can give general information. And then it gives some general information that, again, it's completely out of context. It's just trying to do its best to answer this question without any previous setup. Okay? So what's really cool is I can come in here, I can turn on my custom instructions, and I'm going to tell you the specific custom instructions I gave it so you understand contextually. I'm an accountant. I'm a CPA based out of Miami, Florida. I specialize in preparing tax returns for a small business owner. Whenever I discuss taxes or income taxes, I want to state the facts known, refer to specific code sections, related tax forms, tax court cases if relevant. I literally told it contextually that's who I am. And then I said how I want the answer. Well, stick to facts only. Shouldn't get creative or interpolate data. Answers should be strict interpretation of source materials. Give tax advice that is also disclosed with what could be an exception, rules, circumstances where facts are incomplete or possible. It's not possible to give a black and white answer. So I came up with that custom instructions by myself. Actually, for those people that like to do screenshots, let's do this. Take a screenshot, right? So you know exactly what I used here. In case you want to experiment with this specific set of custom instructions, which are awesome, they're really good. And then I'm going to start a new chat with those custom instructions and ask the exact same question. So the same question verbatim, new chat, I'm going to ask, can I deduct a boat from my business? Now, the answer is different this time, right? Because in the first question, I never said who I was. So all of a sudden, ChatGPT says, I'm not a tax advisor. But now I already told it that I'm the tax advisor. So then it says, okay, I don't need to tell you anything about disclosing about tax advisor. I'm just going to go straight to like a sort of more poignant, more specific answer. So it says, you may be able to deduct your business if you solely exclusively for business purpose, according to the IRS specific publication, if the boat is used for a business or any other business-related activity, etc., etc. And then it says some important things to consider. And then there's actual bullet points, useful information, exclusive business use, ordinary necessary, substantiation, luxury limitation, okay? And I can even go further and ask, again, because of the context, I can say, is there a court case that you can cite that involved the IRS challenging boat expenses? Question mark. Okay. And then it may or may not have found a good court case, right? So it says here that there's one, Linda versus Commissioner. Now, I haven't read that court case. I'm literally making this up as I go. So I couldn't tell you for sure, whether this is true or not. But now I can literally go in there and Google this and read the actual court case. It doesn't make good for good webinar content to just sit there and read a court case, but there it is, right? So you can go to TC Memo 199751 and then see specifically what's in there, okay? I could also go back and challenge it, okay? And I can say TC Memo 107, what specifically relates to boats in this case? So I'm telling it, dig a little bit deeper, like just don't give me any generic information. Dig a little bit deeper, and then in the additional question it says, hey, I evaluate the information and I couldn't find any specific case that involves boat expenses. So I think that's pretty interesting. So I wonder why in the world it would recommend this specific tax court case. Again, it would take me as a human being, go out there, read the actual real court case or the court case memo from authoritative content and make my decision there. Okay. But I think this would be very similar to sort of like how like real research works, or hiring an intern to do research for you. That type of stuff, it's gonna happen. Okay. Now, a couple of things that are important here is notice that there's a disclaimer here that as an AI language model, I don't have real-time access or whatever. I can actually go into which is something I like to do in my custom instructions, and say, do not give me any disclaimers about this being AI or non-authoritative content. As you can tell, I did not win the spelling championship. So non-authoritative content. Or discuss the cutoff of September 2021. So again, this is like for more like sort of power users saying, hey, I'm sort of tired of like the same disclaimer coming on over and over. So then when I do a new chat, again, let's go again, brand new chat here. I copy and paste this into a new chat with the new custom instructions. Now it's going to give me the answer, and then I can, as I dig deeper and deeper, it's not going to give me the disclaimer on the fact that it's AI or it might not be authoritative or whatever. Okay, and I can say any specific publications I can use to research this matter. Okay, and then we press enter, and then it goes a little bit deeper and tells you the specific publications. And in some cases, it'll give you a link. Right? It'll give you a link. It's not always the case, but in some cases, when it's something as generic as irs.gov, yes, it will give you a link. Okay, should be able to see my screen. Yep, there it is. So as I mentioned, go through the slides, see all the different things that are available. Play with all the buttons. Nothing's gonna break. There's also an app that you can download for your phone. The only one thing I want to point out about the app is make sure it's the one by OpenAI, because there's so many fake apps, and you don't want to be feeding information to like not OpenAI. Not that OpenAI is this all benevolent company, but they're pretty public in the public eye. And if you're going to be feeding it information, might as well use the ChatGPT app. So just make sure it's OpenAI and not any other apps are out there. The other thing that's pretty cool about the app itself is that it does voice recognition. So you can start a chat in your phone app, and you can literally talk to it, and then you can resume the chat in the web app, which is actually really, really cool. Actually, let's try that. Let's see if we get lucky enough where that actually works in a live context, in a live webinar. So I have my my ChatGPT app on my phone, okay, and I'm gonna press a button. I'm gonna talk to it. I'm gonna use voice. I'm gonna talk to it and say, please help me find out the best way to deduct office supplies for my marketing business, but the office supplies are all paid in cash and I don't have receipts. Again, that was just all made up information, literally on the fly. So I'm gonna just press send and start my chat on my phone. Literally just started the chat on my phone, and it's moving on my phone. But I'm gonna escape out of that. I'm gonna go back into ChatGPT. I'm gonna hit refresh, and I should be able to open the live chat that's on my phone. Let me just hit refresh here. Okay, and there it is. Okay, so I read it. I read it I spoke it to my phone. It did voice recognition, and then it started the chat on my phone, and I could resume it in the web app, and I could go back and forth. That's really cool too. So I would say, generally for this type of work, you would be sitting in front of a computer, and I find the web version to be much more compelling and useful than the phone version. But it's really cool how they take advantage of sort of the different interface, right? Where people are more used to talking to their phones than talking to their computer. Okay, there's no built-in tool in the web version yet to talk to it, but there are Chrome extensions or browser extensions that do voice-to-text recognition. So you essentially could add a plugin of sorts to do that. Okay. All right. So that's the phone app. That was worth mentioning as well. I put a link in the description, which is the release notes. Every single time new features are added to ChatGPT, both the free version and the web version, you go into that particular link and you will basically keep track of all those things. So that's a useful link to have in the slides. Let's talk about ChatGPT via Bing Chat. So briefly, I believe for the month of July, they had Bing Chat built into ChatGPT, and you could do the Bing searches inside ChatGPT, which essentially solved the issue of going past September 2021. However, there were some issues with it reading information that was behind paywalls, so it had some copyright issues. So they pulled the Bing search inside ChatGPT during the month of July. Hopefully, they'll bring it back sooner rather than later. However, you could use the GPT-powered Bing Chat on the Bing website by going to bing.com/new. And let me spark that open over here. And I have to use another browser because as of today, in order to use the Bing Chat powered by ChatGPT, you have to use Microsoft Edge. That's obviously that's Microsoft's thing, right? They don't want you to use Google Chrome, they want you to use Microsoft Edge. And Bing Chat looks like this. And Bing Chat essentially is Bing search combined with the power of GPT. Now, I think this is a brilliant move by Microsoft, by the way, and probably the reason why they spent the $10 billion investment in OpenAI is because, see, Google was the standard. It's the standard. People say Google this, Google that. You want to find out the truth about something or information about something, you go to Google. Nobody says Bing this, Bing that. That's not a thing. I mean, unless you're from like the 90s, right? Or not even. I don't think Bing was ever a thing. So what they did essentially is they gave relevance to Bing by adding the power of ChatGPT. So let's grab essentially the same concepts. Let's just stay within the same context and ask the same question I'll be asking ChatGPT. Actually, let's do the depreciation one might be better because this one is the one that told me that was actually connected to the issue of 2021. So I'm going to copy that. And I'm going to go into my Bing chat. This is using Bing. And I'm going to copy and paste this question. So I'm going to say, let me just put here, I have a client with a 2023 tax return, or 2022 at this point, tax return, wants to depreciate 65,000 of SUV 100%. And then I'm going to press send. And essentially what I'm doing in this specific case is I'm asking the same thing I would ask ChatGPT. But because it's in Bing, it actually can search websites and search current information. And notice you get a slightly different answer. You get this, according to Forbes, you can write off the full purchasing of the vehicle. However, obviously everything says consult your tax professional. And then it gives you more potential links you can go to. So it's sort of like a combined ChatGPT and Bing search. And so I can actually do something like Could you give me authoritative content? Question mark. So so now it's going to go search authoritative content. Well, I assume it will. I mean, again, we're making this up as we go. I'm trying to give you an illustration for like, you know, how this will work when you're experimenting with ChatGPT yourself. So it went back and just gave me Forbes again. So not fun, but I can say, give me an answer from the irs.gov website. Okay, and press enter again. Something I can't do in ChatGPT, which is tell it, you know, go search the current website, go crawl the current website, and give me information. So now it says IRS has announced in the 2022 inflation adjusted code section 280, and then it gives me some new and relevant information. Okay, so this is a time where you can start experimenting and thinking about using both of these. In my opinion, I'm going to close that out. In my opinion, the best thing is going to be when they bring ChatGPT, Bing inside ChatGPT, like they experimented during July. So it's going to go to the slides a little bit more and just cover a couple more things. There's also this thing called Google Bard, which is like, let's say, Google's versions of ChatGPT. So you can also use that. Just go to bard.google.com, try that out. There's also Anthropic Claude, also not ChatGPT. So you could try that as well. So basically, you have 4 ways to interact with AI right now and use it for research, essentially. We have ChatGPT, we have Bing, the new Bing, we have Google Bard, and we have Claude. So like it's not just ChatGPT, but essentially it gives you an idea. So now what I'm going to discuss now is prompting. Prompting is going to be, I'm going to make a prediction, is going to be one of the single most important job skills of the near future. Prompting is knowing how to talk to the AI, how to ask the right questions. And there's a really super basic format here, which is give it a role or identity, so that way AI can assume, put themselves in somebody's shoes. Give it the command or context. Tell it how you want the information, and then tell it how long or how verbose or how brief or how short you want it. Okay? So if you take something like this, like you're an accountant and I need you to provide a chart of accounts for an ideal marketing firm, include account numbers, and show it in a table format limited to 100. So I'm just going to copy and paste that. Okay? And I'm going to use ChatGPT 4, which gives me better answers, and this is only on the paid version. I'm going to press paste, and then I'm going to press enter, and then look at the information that it's going to give you. It says, okay, this is what you asked for, and then it builds a table, because I told it to build a table. I specifically said show it in a table format. Okay, and I also said I need you to limit it to 100. So this thing is going to go and build the chart of accounts for you, for example, but it'll stop at 100. Okay, and then there's account numbers here, and then you can also even give it more information and say, hey, make those chart of accounts, make those account numbers longer. So I'm gonna hit stop here, and I'm gonna say use 7-digit account numbers and press enter. So okay, so then it's going to try again with the 7 digits, and it should do with 7 digits, and then you start getting the same answers, but now say 7-digit numbers. So you can see how you can sort of like stop it midway and go, you know what, I forgot this particular thing, and let's make this modification. Okay, and then you could copy and paste this into Excel. Okay, it's not pretty, but like if you literally copy and paste this into Excel or Google Sheets, you will be okay. It will do it 100%. Okay, so that gives you some sort of like pretty interesting context as to like the basic prompt writing. So that's my tip, right? That's on the slide right there. There's also some sort of like what we're calling modifier prompts, which is we can tell it what content to write in. Of course, the chart of accounts, example, the tone doesn't matter because it's just a chart of account. But you can tell it, give me a particular tone, give me a particular writing style, okay? And I could modify that by going into, let's say, the same chat, and let's say we're already in the context of your chart of accounts, marketing firm, like something like that. I can say, help me write an article for the marketing firm in authoritative style, and you don't have to put it in uppercase. I will cheat here because I am not that good at spelling. Okay, that's why I became an accountant. Didn't become an English major. So in authoritative style, about top 5 tax deductions, and then let me also change the tone, and then I'm gonna put let's use a persuasive tone. So we're gonna put with a persuasive tone and press enter. So now it's gonna literally write an article for you, which by the way, that could be an email, could be a newsletter, it could be something for your blog, for LinkedIn or whatever, and then here we go. And I told it authoritative style, which means it is going to state code sections, okay? And then the persuasive tone, I assume, because we don't have time for this, at some point they would say, hey, I really recommend you do this. I really recommend that you look into this. It's just, it might be just maybe possibly a little bit more pushy. Now, like for example, and you can get even deeper. This thing keeps coding the same section, and I can even say, hey, just do the code, do the subsections as well. Again, you can do so much stuff, and this stuff, the writing style, the tone modifier, the prompting, this is available across all versions. And there's other tips here again that you can do. Add the response length. You want it short, you want it long. Format, do you want it a table, do you want a script, do you want bullet points? You can also give it an example of how you want, you can write an example of how you want the answer. And there's some really advanced modifiers. You can do temperature, max tokens, frequency penalty, presence penalty, stop sequences, system level instructions, which is being made obsolete with custom instructions, by the way. You could also reprompt, like you can say, hey, based on the above answer, let me give you some new context. Could you give me different information, or could you expand on it? There's also a chain of thought, which means instead of doing such big prompts, you start with little short prompts and you start building up to something bigger. So these are like all the things I recommend that you do. And in the slides, you will have access to this one-page cheat sheet. I would say this is probably like your Bible moving forward as you test ChatGPT. Print this one-page cheat sheet, have it next to you. And if you actually have all the components from this cheat sheet in your prompt example, and I have the prompt example here, you're gonna have probably the single most effective answer you can think of. Okay, so I think that covered the core of like ChatGPT 101. One thing I wanted to recommend that you go through the slides. I recommend you try out something called Finance GPT. It's really awesome. It'll blow you out of the water. It's so cool. It's a prompt writer for finance people. There's Web ChatGPT, which could do like sort of like Google searches inside ChatGPT. And the only thing that when you get a chance to jump to, and this would probably be for like a 102, 103 class, is plugins and code interpreter, because that stuff is also pretty interesting. So I put slides, I put pictures of screenshots of everything, just in case we're gonna get a chance to do the whole thing. And I wanted to make sure also, very important, take a look at the resources. I have over 4 hours of ChatGPT videos on YouTube. There is a part 2 webinar, actually it was recorded before this. It's a part 2, which actually really more advanced content. It's more like, okay, in the accounting world, what does this mean to us? You definitely want to attend that, and that's been replayed multiple times. Mark Wickersham has a great ebook on ChatGPT for accountants. I recommend that. Also, Coursera recently released a prompt engineering course with a certificate. And one thing I'll predict is this will be a skill that small business owners are going to look for, even large businesses are going to look for in their candidates. Absolutely, they're going to look for, do you have a certificate in prompt engineering? These are present. There's also a video I recommend. It's called 32 ChatGPT Tips for Beginners. And definitely join the Facebook group. We have a 10,000 plus Facebook group, which is all AI and ChatGPT for accountants. So you want to definitely join that. So there's my email if you have any other questions. I am going to